Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news, discussion, and of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm Weiry.
Also joining us is Alyx.
Hello, I am Feather Rider, or just Feather sometimes.
And also we got Grace.
Hey, I am Gator Girl, and I am slightly confused that Alyx was before Ian last time, and now Ian, even though Ian is normally first in the order, but now he's back to being first in the order.
Would you like to know my crazy logic as to why I did it that way?
Yes.
I assumed there was a reason.
So basically, I want there to be when there's 6 people, right? There's 3 on the top, 3 on the bottom. And so I wanted Alyx between me and Ian because then we were going to have Shannon and Grace. And I didn't want 3 girls in a row. So that's why I moved it. So oftentimes you'll see when there's 6 people, I'll put Alyx and then Ian. Just so it's not imbalanced, right? Because I thought it'd be weird to have 2 guys, 1 girl, then 2 girls, 1 guy, and so that this makes it balanced. No one knows what we're talking about unless they watch the last episode.
I mean,
but
You watched the last
it drove me a loop for like the Renarin episode when you introduced her first. I was like, oh, well,
right, yeah. These guys don't know what order I'm because it's in the overlay, but they have no idea.
Yeah,
that's true. But
sometimes I get to be the favorite writer twin.
I think I explained it to Jess where I went on like 15 to 20 minutes. It's like, so here's how I decide what order people are in Shardcast. So anyway, welcome to this episode. I'm Chaos. We're gonna talk about Moash. We're gonna talk about He Who Quiets. Rhythm of War spoilers, of course. We're talking about El and Moash. That's what we're gonna talk about. And that title and stuff. And Grace, you really like El.
Yes, I do. We have not seen much of him, but I am very intrigued by what we have seen and his epigraphs.
The way you said that is definitely like, I'm very intrigued. It's like, yes. So he is your botany shroom.
Yes, he is. If we ever do a like Cosmere Crushes sequel, unless something drastically changes in book 5, like El should be on my list for that.
We should do a sequel of that. That'd be good. That's
We
cool.
should definitely revisit some of those.
We got to do Cosmere beefs too, as well.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And a little history. El was a fused in the original, user of the title He Who Quiets, but then at some point his title and rhythms were taken from him.
Which is crazy that you can that Odium could take away rhythms. Yeah. I mean, he's a god. He can do that, right? But like, it's weird.
Yeah. And then during the this current desolation, Moash was given the title Weiry, meaning He Who Quiets, by the fused.
Yeah, and we see El. Well, where do we see him? We see him at the end with Lesian dying. Rip Lesian. We won't miss him. Let's do a Lesian podcast. Let's not. Then
he did bad things and no one liked him.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he was glad, and then we're glad he's dead. But we have Raboniel mentions him in the part 3 epigraphs, the Rhythm of War things, where what was it? That El would be interested about the Rhythm of War's influence on emotions, I think it was.
Yes. Something like that.
And then we have the part 5 epigraphs, which we haven't gone through yet on the show, so.
We also do get him one more time. He is the author of this book's Kedek.
Oh, that's right. Yes, that's right. That's right.
He
He kind of cheated by having the 5th thing be so long, but okay, that's fine.
He is a fused scholar of the human arts, and he finds human art forms quite interesting.
Yeah, how about we go into WoB mode and share off and talk about the part 5 epigraphs, because it really says a lot about who El is.
I look forward to ruling the humans. I had my title and my rhythms stripped from me for daring insist they should not be killed, but should instead be reconditioned, repurposed. Humans are weapons. We singers revere passion, do we not? How can we throw away such an excellent channeling of it? I love their art. The way they depict us as divine, all red shades and black lines. We appear demonic and fearsome. They project all fear and terror upon us. To humans, our very visages become symbols. You find echoes of it, even in the art from centuries before this return. Watch them struggle. Witness their withering, their refusal to surrender. Humans cling to the rocks with the vigor of any Rosharan vine. Humans are a poem, a song. For one so soft, they are somehow strong. For one so varied, they are somehow intense. For one so lost, they are somehow determined. For one so confused, they are somehow brilliant. For one so tarnished, they are somehow bright, radiant.
Ooh.
And so I am not at all dissatisfied with recent events. Roshar will be united in its service of the greater war, and I will march proudly at the head of a human legion. They should not be discarded, but helped to their potential, their final passions. Yes, I look forward to ruling the humans, nearly as much as I look forward to serving you, newest Nodium, who was so recently one of them. You understand, and you are the one I've been waiting to worship.
What an awesome set of epigraphs. Like, not too much to pick apart like the part 2 ones and stuff, but oh, the hype. Oh, that's so good. Like, I love the art part. That's like, wow, we really did put like everything on the Voidbringers. It's like, oh yeah, they're terrors and everything, and it's just so cool.
Yeah, you definitely do get the sense that like Elle probably will get along pretty well with Taravangian.
Yeah.
I don't think that is a wrong assumption of him to make, that their goals are somewhat aligned in that way.
It's interesting that Elle knows of the newest Odium, like, immediately, right? And by the way, these are all Elle's musings on the first of the final 10 days, so yikes. That's worrisome.
It makes you wonder, like, is Taravangian planning on like keeping the secret, or has he told the fused, or...
Yeah, it's interesting, right? Because Elle got some anti-void light. They made it because they, like, Raboniel's notes were sent away, right? So they know how to make it.
Yeah.
But Lesian was brought back not through Everstorm, but like Odium just brought him back. And that's how they did it in the old ways. So I guess in that respect, like, they would kind of need to know some things about Odium. Or at least Elle does. I don't know how many of the other fews know, but...
Yeah, I would expect that as Odium, Taravangian can see somewhat into the future, and he would be able to tell whether or not it's a good idea telling individual fuse that, yo, I'm not race.
And this one definitely is top on the list.
Yeah, I was wondering if Taravangian, I mean, he probably had to like seek Elle out, and maybe through his knowledge was able to figure out Elle's history and go like, okay, like that one is one who will be supportive of me personally.
Very much.
Yeah. Well, and it's also interesting, like, we know that Race was also once human.
Yeah.
But whenever we saw him appearing to singers, he was always in like a singer guise. I wonder if Taravangian has figured out that that's a thing he's even able to do as a shard, like customize his appearance as, I don't know.
I feel like he could.
Probably.
Yeah.
If the power remembers what it's capable of, or that
Cultivation's
that was a thing
teaching
that
him as
old
well,
Odium
right?
did. Yeah.
That's something I always forget about, and is terrifying.
I know, right? It was truly terrifying, of course. But like, I just love the epigraph of like, nearly as much as I look forward to serving you, newest Odium. Oh, so good.
I really like the line of like, you are the one I've been waiting to serve.
Yeah, that race guy, he's a dick, but you get me.
I mean, I wonder if this is to bring us back onto the Moash topic. Like, how we think like Elle probably is going to get along very well with Taravangian as Odium. I wonder how Moash is going to get along with.
Well, that's
Taravangian
definitely a thing
as
we got to
Odium.
talk about, right? Like,
Yeah. I don't think
with how like
well.
toxically dependent he had been.
yeah, that's true.
What's that gonna look like?
That's true.
I can see, well, I don't know, now that Moash is blind, that sort of complicates things, but I think Taravangian is the type of person who would continue this relationship if he found it useful.
Yeah,
And
that's
just
true.
sort of play along with what Moash wants and keep taking his pain. Even if, but like secretly he kind of has like a certain amount of disgust for Moash and doesn't really like him that much.
Yeah. But like Moash like also kind of hates humans and thinks like it is like oh like singers are just better. It's like, and he's like very disappointed when like singers act like the humans do. So like he really didn't understand or know that race Odium used to be a human. If he finds out that now Taravangian is Odium, he knows Taravangian was human.
And a light eyes.
And the light eyes and a king.
Yeah.
Like,
And
not gonna react well. So I do think Taravangian will hide that information from him.
Guess Moash did join the diagram after all.
Yeah, it's like, is the diagram dead? I mean, not exactly. I mean, not quite. But that's interesting because I could see. We came off of the Moash Redemption podcast where we talked a lot about that, but not a lot of that. That was more of a meta episode. But I could see Moash really going off his rocker, learning about Taravangian being Odium, and maybe he switches allegiance, like or just like going insane and just like killing everyone. Like that's very plausible too. It would certainly have an effect on him. I don't know what it'd be. Really depends on the circumstance.
Circumstances like how does he find out?
I think we all kind of think. I mean, Taravangian's saving his reveal at least towards Dalnar until the champions, the Battle of Champions, to really get Dalnar good. But like with the fuse and stuff, we don't know. And I do think Taravangian will hide himself to Moash. Like, how much did Race talk with Moash? Like, it's very unusual.
Yeah, a couple visions.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know how much off screen, really, right?
Yeah. Like they might have been coordinating during sort of giving Kaladin nightmares. That was kind of like they were using Moash's connection to allow Odium to do that. So they might have been like working together during that. Yeah.
Which wasn't it Leshwi that gave Moash the title of Vyre?
Yes.
I believe so.
Leshwi gave him the dagger, Yeah,
I'm also curious because, like, obviously, you know, the things we already talked about with no longer being Race, losing his vision, but also his connection with the original fused who brought him into the fold is now gone and switched sides. I just really
wonder. Yeah.
Like, I think Moash's position in Odium's army is just really up in the air right now.
Yeah, because like she was the one that welcomed him.
Noted
like
him.
She was the one that like gave him like the lowdown of like here's what's really going on. Like that's
Ooh, that's a very interesting. I wish
that might even come and blow back on him that like this human was picked by someone who turned out to be a traitor. That sort of vibe.
Yeah, but like the fused will do what Odium wants, essentially. They don't really do things against Odium's wishes because, you know, Odium can take back, which gives Tarash everlasting life. So that potentially, not good to go against your shard. They're very close with their shard there. But I think that is a really interesting point. Like, where will he be in the hierarchy? Because certainly in the chapter with the 9, they're like, who the hell's this guy? Like, Venley was like, I don't know, why do they let him just talk just so out of turn? And he doesn't have rhythms, but he's got his black coat and everything. We'll talk about that.
Oh, I wonder if Moash and Elle will meet at all during book 5, and if that, like, something would come of that, of Moash having his old title.
I hope.
But also, like, would Elle be fascinated by Moash as a human who's sort of, I don't know.
He probably would be very interested in Moash.
Yeah, it's like, I think Elle is more okay with the situation than we might think. Like, I don't think he cares that his title was stripped from him.
Yeah.
Like, I think everybody else sees it as like a big dishonor, but we don't get the sense that he's like super bitter about it. At least not from this epigraph, I guess.
He's not bitter about it. He's like, I made my choice. This makes sense.
He thinks he was right about it.
And like, Lezian, like, did hold him in like reverence. He's like, oh well, okay, I'll show Elle some respect. It's like, oh, this guy's like, kind of dangerous. So
Lezian's like, I'm not scared of anyone, but it's Elle. I'll be respectful. And I'm not scared of him. But,
which does sort of set him up like a badass, right? Like, if Lezian reacts to Elle that way, then seeing Elle in combat, like, is scary.
Yeah.
But what would that even look like without the rhythms? Like, he has that metal, like, on him, right?
What's with that?
He replaces his carapace with metal, and then uses like void light to heal himself and like make it part of his new body,
which is super metal.
It is objectively very metal. Let's have a metal band with him. Also, Elle is definitely a pretty metal name if you are a metal singer, I think.
It doesn't seem like it would be a good idea. Like,
for your sanity.
Just thinking, well, also just like, if it's too hot or too cold outside, like, metal conducts temperature way better than the human body does. Like, all of a sudden you have the seatbelt thing in your hot summer car that's just grafted onto your skin.
Yeah, but they have void light, like, oh.
And also, I mean, the 9 grow themselves in rock formations, and they're just like, it doesn't matter. We can just die anytime this gets too inconvenient for us. Like,
not the first time the Fused have done questionable body modification, I suppose.
Yeah, it's. I just worry about the sanity aspect, because it definitely seems like long-term being one of the 9 for a long time, probably not the best idea, even if you have magical healing with void light. But like, looking at his epigraph, this looks pretty coherent, right?
Yeah.
There's there's insanity and insanity.
Yeah.
Like, we see this with the heralds. Like, you can have a cogent conversation with Nail. Like, doesn't change the fact that he's bonkers.
Yeah, all the views are kind of bonkers. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like Raboniel and Lezian, like, they were intelligent people, like, but like, they had their eccentricities.
That's yep.
I'm really curious what else will be, because it seems like, from what we know, like, his thing is like he likes art and is fascinated by human culture, and how that will translate into, I'm like a few thousand-year-old Fused who is set in my ways and is insane because of that.
Yeah, like, it's interesting that Lezian met Elle in particular, right? You know?
We definitely get those sort of vibes off of the one scene where he's actually on screen, of that sort of like cold sort of, or maybe like maybe a little bit interested in the sort of mad science sort of vibe, the experimentation sort of a thing, which I also, the only thing that's like holding me back from like, yeah, that's probably a valid interpretation, is I also felt like Raboniel was initially set up that way as like a mad scientist, and then she totally was not that character at all.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I think because I totally get what you're going at. Like that Raboniel was a scientist. Like she was a mad scientist. Her madness didn't really do the like diabolical wahahaha thing.
Right.
But I think where L diverges is like he's not a scientist. He's more like the art and magic of things rather than like the science of things. So it's like kind of coming at things from like a different tack from Raboniel. Like he's like the mysticism of like all of this. Like
so I'm scanning through the L scene. There's a few interesting things that I'm noting. Yeah, looking at this super analytically. One, he straight up says to Lezian, our new god made an exception. L's not being super secretive about the new god aspect, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they're gonna kill Lezian in a sec, but he's also like, oh, we didn't want you to wait. We didn't, like, it's we. So he's not super separated from all the Fuse. Like, he's not one of the 9. He's not like directly leadership, but he is clearly important, I would say, right?
And he's not ostracized.
No, very much not. And it's just like, oh, we didn't want to wait for your rebirth. It was not your, oh God, he's so great. It was not your convenience that troubled us, but mine. It's like, oh, he's pretty great, and quite scary. So, man, that's super interesting.
When Ian was talking earlier, it almost felt like the difference between El and Raboniel reminded me a bit of like the difference between Shallan and like Yasna and Navani. In terms of sort of their thought processes and what they do, where Shallan is still a very scholarly character, but not in that same kind of like scientific, logical way that Navani and Yasna both kind of are in their own ways. She's more like, I'm going to draw this life, and even El's kind of, him killing Lezian almost feels a bit more of like Shallan, sort of, and the name He Who Quiets, that sort of subterfuge type aspect of Shallan's personality.
Do we get any hints about what kind of what brand of fused he is?
Ooh, that's a good question.
No, we do not.
It's because they do talk about the metal being like part of his own talents. It's not just void light healing, right?
Yeah,
they were those could just be mundane, like surgical talents.
They were incorporated into his body by void light healing and his own special talents.
What does that mean?
Right?
Maybe, yeah, because the progression fused are totally different. I mean, maybe progression fused, maybe.
Yeah.
Have we seen progression fused?
It could be transformation.
Yeah, we saw the progression fuse that Yasna fought on the battlefield. They had like big not spikes. Like
they like grew their
carapace
in different ways. Yes, cool.
So like that's possible. I wonder. Now I'm just wondering how good their healing actually is. I was just like thinking about the healing, right, with progression, but it's like, oh, is that really how they work? But I mean, they are very good with that single surge, so he could twist his horns and like add like metal in easily, right, into carapace with that.
I feel like if you were like, if the strength of the progression fused is like manipulating their carapace, then removing all of it would be a disadvantage because you wouldn't have any left to like grow and do power stuff
because he
with.
rips off his natural
with
carapace.
Metal.
Right, yeah.
Or it's just like
that's a power.
He's so badass.
Which,
I
don't need it.
He doesn't even need it.
Yeah.
What
One hand tied behind the back, sort of a vibe.
I have a hot theory. What if the metal's all aluminum? Boom. Could be defensive. I don't know. Maybe that's just a crazy theory.
Extremely expensive.
Well, no. I mean, the fuse can, like the soul casting fuse, can just make aluminum.
You can't. I thought you couldn't make aluminum.
You can't soul cast aluminum, but you can soul cast things into aluminum.
Yeah, it's a one-way thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I totally misunderstood. When people said you can't soul cast aluminum, like I assumed that like you can't turn things into
Right, yeah.
English is a great language that doesn't have ambiguity.
No ambiguity in English.
No. None at all. Interesting.
But like, do we think, well, I mean, I guess he does still have his special talents, but rhythms seem so involved. I wonder just if some of his magic was like removed or something, right? Like,
that almost feels like a connection thing to me. Like because I mean the connection being pulled out is like what stops the singers from being the rhythm. So it almost feels like Odium either removed or blocked his connection to something.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I buy that for sure.
You could almost think of it in terms of like if all of the singers are sort of naturally have an allomantic seeker ability, like
sure,
his got spiked away or whatever. Like this was a power he used to have and now he can't do it anymore. Sort of a vibe, perhaps.
Yeah, like I think because singers are singers, like the rhythms are important for like a lot of things. Like it does have an effect on magic, but rhythms aren't required for certain binding to function.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't like he still has his powers and like he's still not lobotomized. So it's like the rhythms being removed, I don't think is I think it's more like how like Odium can like give people extra rhythms.
Yeah,
like,
right, exactly.
He can also like
there's that whole thing too,
which is crazy.
Basically like suppress that part of them and like make them no different from a human.
Eric, when you were reading the L scene earlier, did you say that he almost felt like cold to you in that scene? Or I thought someone said that or something like that. But because I'm wondering, like, if that's somehow, if he comes across that way related to having his rhythms removed, like taking away the emotion, like he can still feel emotions, but if there's some sort of distance, like he has more difficulty feeling certain things. Like,
I mean, it's interesting. Cold. I mean, maybe a little bit. Like, I wouldn't describe it as cold. I don't think that's the correct word.
I think I might have said that when I was like initially thinking in terms of like the lack of, sympathy he seems to give to Lezian.
Well, I mean, he does call
not
Lezian
seem
defeated
at all
once,
bothered by what he's about to do or like squeamish at all about, experimentally murdering someone, which I guess came across as like a cold psychopath vibe, sort of.
I mean, it's not nice, admittedly, and mocking him with the defeated one title is not super nice or respectful to him, but
yeah. And it's like, I almost wonder if part of that is like, because we are in like Lezian's mind, and Lezian is a singer and is used to interacting with other singers via the rhythms. So L being a singer but not having the rhythms, like there's a disconnect there that like Lezian isn't getting like isn't able to read L's emotions like as effectively as like he could read like another singer's, which might reflect into being cold from our point of view. I don't know.
I was just thinking that we do have that comment that L would be particularly interested of the emotional effects of the rhythms of war, and he doesn't have any rhythms. And I'm just kind of wondering, I really want to get inside L's head and just sort of see what that internal is like for a fuse without rhythms and what that does to his emotions and things.
To feel the rhythms.
Yeah.
Like, L's... Like, I feel like L does not particularly like Lezian overall, which makes sense. He clearly, Lezian has made terrible decisions.
Such a personable kind of person.
Lezian's made terrible tactical decisions in the name of preserving his legacy for thousands of years, so not surprising. Yeah. But it almost makes me feel like L was a leader or one of the 9 at some point. Like, I would totally buy that before whenever he was forbidden rhythms. Like, he seems in control, commanding, even without his rhythms. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna do this thing. What are you gonna do about it? Like, but he also is like saying words softly, and I don't know. It's an interesting dynamic. I don't know how quite I would describe that.
Well, like, we can see from the epigraphs that he's interested in passion.
Yeah.
So he's not passionless.
No.
He talks about like humans are such great conductors of that, or what? No, it's not conductors. Whatever.
I don't think he said that, but yeah.
So I have a question. Like, do we think like He Who Quiets was his title in the same way that like Lady of Pains, the Pursuer, like, or was like it an office, like the 9?
Well,
I think it was his title in the same way as like Lady of Pains and the Pursuer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because the Pursuer says they gave your title to another, a human. So like I that's the implication, at least.
Yeah. I guess like I had initially read that differently, like as in like, though like thinking back on it, like that it makes less sense. So it's like there's the 9, and then there is He Who Quiets, who is like, it's like an office of the fuse that has a particular purpose.
Well, because even in like the Rhythm of War, after the Raboniel mentioned L, Navani's like, who's L? Like, he doesn't have a title. He's not a fused.
Right. That's true. That's true. That is what Navani says. So what do we kind of think about He Who Quiets, as in like what L's role was when he had that title? What does that mean?
I think that we go back to Mistborn.
Okay.
And every great kingdom needs a knife.
Oh boy.
I think He Who Quiets was the assassin and or executioner.
Of heralds or anyone?
I think of anyone. So most notably the heralds.
I mean, their top target in a desolation for sure.
Yeah. But it's like he would be the one to test out permanently killing a fused.
Yeah, I was thinking that sort of the permanently killing the fused kind of reflects Moash getting the title after permanently killing Yezrian.
That's true. It's somewhat interesting how the fused didn't want to themselves kill Yezrian, right? And they had Moash do it instead, like they were afraid to do it. Wonder if L would be afraid to do it. I feel like he wouldn't.
No, I don't think so.
Unless there's some sort of rule about like permanently killing the herald or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Who knows how that actually went? But
I don't think they would be afraid of killing the heralds in general, like previous to this. Sure. I think it's like they very much did not know what was going to happen when you stab a herald with a Racium blade. Like it had the potential to change everything. And for beings that are so set in their ways, that is fundamentally terrifying.
Yeah, that's true.
It makes sense.
I was thinking more along the lines of like, oh, we don't know exactly how this works. It might cause an explosion. We're just going to send the disposable human down to do it instead.
I mean, that's a good place to start, for sure.
Yeah. It could be
I
both.
think there's very possibly an innate sort of fear of an immortal. Like, if you are able to kill your immortal enemies, the game has now changed. And this could very well open up a path to, their immortality being at risk, which we can see it absolutely did. Raboniel did exactly that. I think Raboniel probably wouldn't have had a problem being the one to stab Jezrien, but I do think that for a lot of other fused, that probably was an uncomfortable thing, even if it was a tactically sound thing, just like the greater implications of immortals.
That means they could die forever.
Permanently killed now.
Or
it's
right.
The ones that are forgetting about the point of this war. The point of the war is to end the war. But like some have forgotten that.
A lot have, it feels like.
I had a bit of an out there thought with the title of He Who Quiets.
Okay.
So we know that like sound is important on Roshar.
Yep. Okay.
Because we've got like I don't know exactly how it would tie in, but like we've got like the cities, the Dawn cities with the sound, and you know the Navani and Raboniel use the sound to like create the anti-lights. I'm wondering if like He Who Quiets. I mean, obviously, it could just mean like I am going to kill people and quiet them that way. But like, wonder if there's almost like a more literal definition of like sound is important to Roshar's magic, and like El somehow was able to stop that sound.
That's terrifying and awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool. I like it.
I do like the idea of it being more than he just kills people.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels a little bit too simple for the implications, but I don't know what else it would be.
Yeah, how magically magnificent it is, who knows? But I think it might be metaphorical quieting, but like it's definitely like something important.
Interesting. I don't know how that fits into things, but I feel like El's definitely one of those people. It's like, I mean, I'm sure he's important, but Brandon just hasn't had the time to bring him up yet. You know?
Yeah.
Which he does a lot.
With all the fuse trickling back.
Yeah.
I mean, all the fused are important. They have thousands of years of stories, and it annoys them that the humans don't know any of them anymore.
The singers don't know them.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of sucks that like all of the humans still know about the heralds, but none of the people on your side know about you.
Yikes. Yeah.
Oof.
That's anger inducing.
10 heralds is a lot easier to remember than the like how many fused are there again?
More than 100. Brandon said more than 100.
Yep.
That's why you need the titles to remember them. Good old Collar of Springs, so memorable. Calls those springs. That's his title.
Do we think El is going to be at the Challenge of Champions?
I think he's going to be pretty significant moving forward. I would not be surprised. I don't necessarily think he's going to be the champion, but
I think he's going to be significant, but I'm also like, I have no idea how he's going to be significant and like what story he's going to be, whose character story he's going to be involved in.
I mean, I think he might be the main fused now. Like, Raboniel's dead. Leshwi changed sides. Lezian's dead. Those were the main fused that we like knew about and cared about. All of them are sort of out of the picture on the Odium side. And now all of a sudden we have a very sinister person being introduced at the end. Like, I kind of think with reason that he and Taravangian might get along, I would not be surprised if he's like right-hand man for
that's super plausible
as an antagonist for the rest of the books.
Like I'd be interested to see El be the novella character for the interludes next book.
Crap, like, that sounds awesome. Yeah,
like, we're at a very tricky theorizing stage because like we have one book to finish this arc and then we have the whole back half and we don't know how things are going to shake out because like we might deal with El in book 5 or he might be the big bad for the back 5 like we don't know.
I would be surprised if he was a one book antagonist.
I don't want more one book antagonists.
I think we've gotten through enough like setup of stuff, I think we're now establishing some more long-term characters in terms of this.
So
Especially introducing him at the end of a book.
It's like, hey, I'm going to be important later. What's up?
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, Raboniel was only in Rhythm of War.
But she was introduced at the start.
Yeah, that's true.
Raboniel was like totally contained within one book, which it's very sad that she only got one book because she was wonderful.
Harold flashback.
Yeah, Harold flashback.
That's going to be great.
She and Lezian were both introduced at the very beginning of this book, and they almost have like a joint arc of like through Rhythm of War to a closing where they both die. Whereas I think this sort of the cliffhanger tease at the end sort of introduces like, hey, this person is going to be important for a little while coming up.
It's so interesting because we've killed so many of our human antagonists from early in the series. Like Sadius, dead. Amram, dead. Moash, still around. So it's like, well, I mean, we'll deal with him. It's like Raboniel, dead. Lezian, dead.
Eli,
yeah. Aesidon, dead. Unmade, still on the table. But like a lot of the human antagonists are dead. And I mean, a lot of the Fuse are dead too. At least that we knew.
So from what I'm hearing, Alyx, you think that like Elle is going to spend book 5 by Taravangian's side, and he's not going to be one to like go fight Kaladin in Shinovar or, you know, interact with Dalinar in Erythra or something.
I feel like maybe not. I mean, although I guess we have often underestimated Brandon saving big moments with characters. Like, oh wait, Odium's gone in book 4.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, pretty much.
So Brandon could do whatever.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he could definitely have like a side arc with one of the characters where we sort of get a feel for him as an antagonist in terms of like him bouncing off a protagonist and their interactions and how those work. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he's more on the back lines. Like I think interludes would be really interesting with him. I think that's a cool thought.
What if he is sent
ways.
as an ambassador to the listeners?
Yeah, because I have no idea where the listeners are going. Like in 10 days, what are they going to do in this next book? I don't know.
Yeah, because like I was just thinking like, oh, it's like Venli would have been like the natural person to interact with Elle like behind enemy lines, but like she left. So
I'm almost thinking Moash Elle buddy cop thing. Like not really buddy cop, but like they're doing their quest together and Elle's just trolling Moash the whole time. That sounds fun.
But like Moash is the human who like hates humans and thinks singers are better, and Elle is the like fused who like admires humans, and so you have that dynamic of
I feel like there's a good dynamic there, right? Like that's a quality thing. And they're both he who quiets, so it's like, oh hey, Fire, I was Fire before you were Fire. What's up? I have metal in my skin. You're blind. Ha.
Elle heals Moash's self-hatred, and they like just come together.
Is this we're creating a new ship?
This is the new ship.
Oh no.
Them who quiets the ship.
I mean, like, I feel like this is a very natural like setup for a ship. Like the person who hates themselves, the person like who like thinks they're awesome, and like teaches them that like no, you're awesome, and they like happily ever after.
Because there's so many points of view that book 5 needs to have, right? Kaladin, Shallan, Zeth, Dalinar, less Navani. How much Venli? Probably less. I mean, definitely less, right?
Some Renarin and R'lain.
Some Renarin and R'lain, right, exactly. And it's like, will we get like Moash POVs? Like, would Moash be the interlude through line and Elle's there? I mean, I think that, or like, that could be interesting, but I don't think Moash is going to be outside of interludes because I just don't know how much space we have for things.
Okay. Yeah. Even more a wild idea from this. So Brandon has said the end of the was it the end of the series or the end of book 5 is hiding in the first 2 books somewhere?
I think he said end of the series.
End of the series, yeah.
Okay, well, Moash is blind,
Huh?
and Elle is fascinated by art and beauty. And
Uh-huh.
two blind men sit at the end of the
Two
world
blind men
contemplating the
in the
nature of
world?
beauty. We just need Elle to be blind, and then we
Put
get
some
our
metal on his
buddy
eyes.
cop.
Easy.
We get our buddy cop Elle Moash interactions, and the end of the series is them just like sitting at the end of the world talking about art and beauty.
Yeah, it could happen. Like,
Be it.
it could be this. Like, this is. I don't hate this.
Yeah.
And they're just torrid lovers. That too.
Gosh.
That goes without saying.
I love
I feel like
Alex's
if I
face
was
for this.
gonna, the only thing is like, I don't consider myself a Cal Moash shipper, but if I was gonna ship Moash with anyone, it would be Kaladin. So I don't know how I feel about this other ship idea.
Little did you know about Book 5's love triangle, Kaladin Elle Moash. The second
Okay, that's
love
a very
triangle.
fascinating love triangle. Somebody write that fic. I'd read it. We actually were talking about this like in and around the other episode, but like Cal Moash shippers are funny on Tumblr, you guys.
Yeah?
You don't have to like the ship, but they're hilarious.
Oh, yeah?
I'll find
Also-
posts. I'll put them
Okay.
in the comments of this episode.
Okay. All
You're
right.
missing out if you don't follow people who ship Cal Moash.
Oh, man. I mean, it would be pretty funny. But I don't think we're going to get a love triangle in the next book. Again, we just have so
Probably
much
not.
to do. We're definitely going to get to the end of that book, and it's like, but what about all these other things that could have happened? And it's like, well, we got stuff to do. And
I think more than we are anticipating is going to end up being back half.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't see how he's going to get through all of it.
Tor's printing presses are only so big.
Yeah.
500,000 word book 5. Let's go. 500K,
Oh.
even 500K. If he deletes a word in that last draft, he has to add a few more. Be very Vorin. Exactly. With the Ars Arcanum. Just get it exactly 500K. All the best reasoning for.
You can just add attracting Fabrials to the Ars Arcanum.
Nice.
Chris just doesn't care about those at all.
She's
Apparently.
super not interested. I want to make a joke about shipping
man.
Chris an attraction. But, you know.
Okay, does anyone think that Moash or Elle will be ODM's champion in book 5?
Moash, definitely no.
If he wasn't blind, he'd be a good candidate, but he's blind, so yeah.
Hell, I could see it. But like I could also see him not wanting to sully himself in that way.
I actually, the first time that I read Rhythm of War, I did not understand that Odium was like angling for Kaladin as his champion.
little
at the
subtle.
end. It was a little until we like started talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, that theme is kind of there. And I actually thought he was like pushing Moash to be a champion. Like when he said that he'd lost his champion, I was like, because Moash went blind? What? Which I now do not think that was Brandon's intention. I do think he was talking about Kaladin. But yeah, I don't know that I really see either of them as the champion, just because I expect Taravangian is going to try to do something unexpected. Like I know Ben really loves the like child champion idea, which I don't necessarily think that's what it's going to be, but I do think
Then
it is
Gavin
going to be
Moash back
something-
half. They get to be revenge buddies.
Yeah, I do think it's going to be one of like Hoyd's sort of you play the game to make the other person lose. You don't play the game to win. It's going to be something that will make Dalinar lose, not necessarily a person that would let Odium win. Sort of a vibe.
Yeah. Like, it's really... If Moash wasn't blind, and, like, Kaladin was Dalinar's champion, but, like, Dalinar's going to be Dalinar's champion, right? Like, that's
said that,
the implication.
Yeah.
So,
Sort of thing you do himself.
yeah, so... Yeah.
Which like kind of makes me think it might be Elle.
Really?
Because I think I think L is very analogous to Dalinar.
Okay.
And that's the wrong phrasing. Because there's the scene in Rhythm of War where they're packing up, where like Rabonio's overseeing the fuse, like packing up like all of like Dalinar's stuff and like inventory. And I don't think it says it in the text, but like my interpretation was like they were preparing to send that to L for a study. I don't know if that's actually substantiated by anything in the text, but like in rereading things, that's like the impression I got. So it's like, because I think L would be very interested in like understanding who Dalinar is as a person.
It's true.
As the person who is like interested with humans, that like thinks the humans can be repurposed. That I think it would be very natural for him to be like Dalinar's counterpart. But like I don't think L would do that in order to fight Dalinar. It's like he would do that in order to get access to Dalinar.
Yeah.
If that makes
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get the like super warrior vibe off of L. Like people are afraid of him, but it doesn't seem like a battlefield prowess kind of afraid of him.
To me, he always felt more like master assassin type fear.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a strategist sort of danger.
Yeah.
Actually,
like,
I'm now wondering if Taravangian might be his own champion. Like,
yeah, that's the other.
That could be
I mean, that's what Jess and I always thought. It's like Taravangian just appears and it's like, whoa, you're. Well, I mean, in my opinion, that was like, oh, what, Taravangian? You're Odium's champion? It's like, no, I'm Odium. What's up? But I mean,
yeah. And I wonder if we might be getting a little hung up on the idea of like the challenge of champions like being combat. I don't think that was in the agreement.
No.
Like it's
What's
just
the exact wording?
Oh God.
It's
really
just
not.
I thought there was I thought it was to the death or something, but I don't.
It does say. I think it does say to the death.
I don't know. That terms chapter is really long.
Yeah.
Maybe you have Kaladin as well. I feel like this was already covered in Rhythm of Wars, and he already got past that. But like Kaladin was Dalinar's champion, and Moash, even as blinds, could just like try to convince him to kill himself. And if Kaladin does, Moash wins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna get that either, because that seemed resolved in Rhythm of War.
I do think Kaladin and Moash will have a confrontation. That has to happen because they did not directly fight. Because Moash went after Navani and Kaladin was off doing other things. The true battle with just with the epigraph also talking about the next war. Human Legion, the greater war, the battle for everything,
and the fact that like L knows what that is.
Yeah. Oh man, I really want him to like survive and then get to the greater war and have L like lead the legion of the Rosharan armies into battle.
That's plausible though. Depressing end for Stormlight, but plausible.
I mean, what if that's like book 5 stuff? Like,
I mean,
what if the back half of Stormlight involves other worlds?
Well, the least
the back half just is the greater war.
Wow, that would be insane.
So I don't think the back half is going to be the greater war, mostly because I think that's going to be the main plot of the Cosmere. And like I do personally think it's against the Fane life. So like I don't think that's going to resolve itself until the Space Age Mistborn trilogy. Though I guess it could kick off in the back half of Stormlight. That is fair.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the terms and it does say a contest of champions to the death. So
okay. Then that is fair.
We do kind of have Shallan being set up as like learning about the wider Cosmere and things like that.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know.
I do really think that an El Shallan conversation would be super interesting.
That would be really
just to
interesting.
just to sort of see what that interactions are like sort of the two artists. I think they could probably understand each other, honestly, from what we've seen.
Oh, absolutely.
That's interesting. God,
I
there's so
think
many
she will
ways.
have the best chance of understanding him.
Man, there's so much for Shallan to do as well with, like, what's up with that relationship with Ray Shafir and Shallan? Like, will that be relevant for Bottom Mishram and stuff? Oh, there's so much. There's so much to do.
Yep.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
Last 10 days.
The last 10 days.
Ooh.
Wow. There's just so many possibilities for Elle.
Yeah.
I feel like there's less possibilities with Moash. Like, the blindness, I'm just like, where is this going? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
So random.
Two
It
blind men
feels a
sitting on
little
the end of the world.
Yeah.
Now that I've thought of that, that's like
Yeah.
all I can think about for Moash's future. It's like he's one of those blind men. That's gonna happen.
he was very notably blind. That's true.
Yeah.
I just like, what's up with the metal with Elle, right? And like, when did
They're all
Elle?
hemalurgically charged.
I mean,
Oof.
I mean, like, when do we think this happened to Elle? Because I would say, I mean, it has to be before the last desolation, obviously. But
You mean having his rhythms and title
Yeah,
taken from
yeah,
him,
yeah.
or like the first time he decided to switch his carapace with metal?
oh, I was
And why he did
saying
that.
the rhythm and titles removed, not the metal thing. But you're right. I didn't really segue that, so that's fair.
Mm.
I would say like between the 5th and 10th desolation, this would about happen. Like a long time ago. Everyone knows it was a long time ago. And not like one of the last few desolations.
Yeah.
I
would buy
don't
that.
think he would have been made a fused if he expressed this opinion before that happened.
Yeah, maybe his mind was changed over time, right?
Yeah.
Like having more and more experience.
Yeah, like how much did the fused truly know of the humans when they were elevated to be fused? Like it's unclear, and especially throughout the desolations, right? Because obviously the situation has changed dramatically, and so he's obviously very interested about like, ooh, look at all this human culture that happened in the last 4,000 years. Wow, neat.
You know who does wear metal armor is humans.
Oh,
Yeah.
is he trying to cosplay?
Like not like cosplay, but like I wonder if he is. Like, I mean, I don't think he necessarily wanted his rhythms and his title taken from him, but like that's one of the ways humans were described is like they have no rhythms. Like their carapace is made of metal. I don't actually know if that one's in the LSDL or if that's
I don't
just
think so. It was like, though they are soft, their hearts
Pulling up
are
the
cold or
Elasteel
something.
now
Yeah.
to see what it-
They have
They
but
have
one
but one
heart,
heart, and it can never
be
beat.
or something.
Maybe it's just I thought someone at one point described armor as like metal carapace, but maybe
Sounds familiar.
That does sound familiar. It's interesting to me that speaking up in defense of like keeping the humans as useful tools would have been something that Odium disagreed with enough to punish, since it was race Odium who was talking to Dalinar about like Roshar is a training ground for was that something that Race changed his mind about over time, or like did he get this idea from Elle?
Or I don't know if I agree with this. Like it was always part of like Race's plan, and he was like using the fused for his own ends. And then like one of like the fused like independently came up with the same plan as Race. But like Race couldn't be seen as like rewarding that because like he didn't want the fused to know what he was actually doing. So he had to like punish that person.
Right.
Which could make sense if Elle was sort of like in on what the real plan was, and Odium, why he doesn't seem very bothered by the punishment. If it was like, oh, I got punished because I was right and guessed the right answer, and
yeah, and if
sort of a vibe.
If I was saying earlier about like switching his carapace with metal and being interested in like human culture as part of more of a interest in humans, then maybe even taking his rhythms might not be something he necessarily minds that much.
Yeah.
If his goal is to like be more like a human, which we I don't know that's just speculation. But there's obviously a fascination there.
Yeah.
I wonder, I mean, I think it's plausible that like Race did it for that reason, but it's just as easily that like the 9, whoever was in charge at the time, strongly disagreed and like voted no, he needs to be punished, and Race acquiesced. And maybe he had some other motivations along with that, but like his control over the fused is very important. Yeah. So
yeah.
Do we think L was a member of the 9 at any point?
I think he was.
Would be surprised.
At some point. He seems just very confident all the time. Like,
yeah, because like I could see it very similarly to Raboniel, like who was a member of the 9 and then left to fulfill her own interests.
Yeah, it'd almost be interesting if he was one of the 9 and then was cast out by the other 8 or something, and then it's like, yo.
Possibly.
I remembered the thing I wanted to bring up.
Oh, yeah?
Yes. This is very, like, kind of a non sequitur at this point.
Okay.
But, so, singer names are very, like, does draw a lot from, like, Hebrew. It's like, Raboniel, like, the suffix L does mean of God. Like, and, like, that's why, like, all, like, angel names end with El. Like, it's, like, Uriel, it's, like, light of God. Like, like, L is, like, very important. So the fact that, like, this guy is just named L?
Well, and, like, even within universe, all of the heralds have Ellen appended to their names.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
At the end.
Yeah.
That's true.
And it's, like, Raboniel. Like, it's, like, this is, like, these 2 letters mean something very important, Brandon. Like, hopefully you didn't just name this guy willy-nilly. Like,
I doubt it. He's
yeah.
He does care about the linguistics of Roshar, which was very cool to realize in Oathbringer. It's like, oh yeah, Moash is kind of that sort of name. Oh yeah. It just occurred to me, it's pretty obvious, but if he didn't have rhythms, then he definitely couldn't have been one of the 9 after they were taken away, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I do think he was one of the 9 at some point.
Don't you need a rhythm to summon Voidlight?
It's like the Song of Prayer, but that was at least what Venli said.
I assume it could probably be granted.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I just the thought I had, like, wondering if that. I mean, I'm sure he had ways of getting it, especially if he was still feared. He could just, like, find someone else and be like, hey, like, give me Voidlight, even if he couldn't get it on his own.
Yeah, it's not entirely clear, like, because, like, the fused seem to have, like, a direct line to Odium.
Yeah.
Because, like, so it might just be, like, regals that need to do the Song of Prayer to, like, request Voidlight.
It's very unclear how fused get Voidlight. I would really like some information on that. That would be great. Thanks.
Yep.
Because, like, originally the heralds had a direct line to honor. So it would make sense that the fused have a similar relationship.
Huh. Almost makes me wonder if the heralds just got Stormlight direct from honor when they were heralding.
Did that they had a direct line to honor.
No, I know they.
Like, that's what I mean. It's like, we know that they just got powered directly from honor. Pretty sure.
I don't know if we know that.
Two things. One from the Arcanum Unbounded Hoboken signing.
Oh, that one.
Which is, this is Brendan paraphrased. There was a point when heralds didn't need to draw Stormlight from gems.
Okay.
no, Stormlight and Gems predates Honor's arrival. And then Boscoon 54 Steel Dancer asked, the Heralds before Honor died, were they directly powered by Honor? Brendan, yes.
Okay.
We'll find out more about that, but Shard Blades, Honor Blades, were pieces of Honor Soul that he gave them indirect access to his essence.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, so I mean, I just want to know about the fused and how much void light they get, because it's not infinite void light.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
It's 3 husks worth.
3 husks worth. However much that means.
Yeah.
That whole Lesian's weird. All that ability is just like, I was like, wait, what is happening here? What he appeared? What?
I'm glad there aren't that many Nexim.
Yeah, it is pretty terrifying.
That like does make me wonder like why there aren't equal numbers of the fused.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it comes back to the fused were dangerous even before they learned to command the surges. That's what the Stormfather said.
Yeah.
Oh
man,
like they didn't
Carol
always have
flashback
this.
book's going to be real interesting.
There is so much stuff way back that we're like, I have no idea what's going on there. Jeez.
Yep.
Only 2 Herald flashbacks? Could go for some more. But maybe we'd get a little samey.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, them tortured again. Wow, neat. I'm
just imagining like if L was like known for killing heralds or something, we could get a flashback of just like absolutely terrifying him, like killing Shalosh or Talon or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or like he could have been like the chief torturer, like
over in Braze. Yeah,
like on Braze.
Oh yeah, that's very metal. Like talking about metal things, that is aggressively metal.
Mm-hmm.
Although, like, aren't they just like spirits on Brace? Like that part's weird.
It's unclear.
Like, what does that mean?
But they still had like their flesh torn from
the
them, and knives drawn into their bones or something.
How does Brace work?
Yeah, exactly. Wood was able to beat up Kelsier, but also he said that was kind of because he didn't really know what being a cognitive shadow meant. Presumably the Heralds figured out pretty quickly what being a cognitive shadow meant after a while.
You would hope.
I don't know.
Yikes. Poor Heralds.
Poor Heralds.
Let's make some new Heralds. I'm sure that won't go poorly.
I'm
Yeah.
sure Kaladin will do fine with more time on Braze.
Oof.
Let's not do that. That sounds...
and not do that. No.
The Heralds, it was a bad plan. It all just sounds like a bad plan.
No new oath fact. That is sticking a band-aid on something that needs stitches.
It's like Hoyt said, you gotta find the loophole. Odium found the loophole.
He did find the loophole. Yep. Any I guess this will be a shorter episode. That's fine. I mean, we don't really have that much to go off on L. And we talked about a lot of the other Moash stuff in the last episode. But other final thoughts, L, Moash?
Ella and Moash are going to get together and adopt Scavenor. You heard it here first.
Yikes.
Oh boy.
Yikes.
Oh, I am excited to see what becomes of this plotline and his character, just sort of like finding out more about what's going on.
Yeah, I hope he's not just gonna die in book 5. I would not like that.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if Brandon did that.
Moash dying in book 5, much more plausible in my opinion.
Yeah.
Objectively.
I just have no idea of anything at this point.
Yeah. How are we gonna do our book 5 predictions podcast? We just have no idea.
Really no idea.
I felt like this after every Stormlight book.
That's true.
I have no idea what's going to happen next. But we did kind of know the general direction things were going to go.
Sorta.
Like, we knew that the war was going to continue in the next book.
Well, yeah.
Very broad strokes. We knew things were going to fundamentally change like they could in this book. Like
right. Roshar exploding
end.
on the table.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I want book 5, please, Brendan.
I know that's the biggest problem with Rhythm of War. It's like book 5, please. Cool. Well, you get a shorter episode for once. Wow, cool. So let's go on. I'm excited to edit it, honestly. Let's go on to who's that Cosmere character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Braze.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for who's that Cosmere character? Caw.
All right, listeners, you know how the game is played. You send in an email with 5 clues and the character that it corresponds to wtcc@17shard.com. I read each clue aloud, and after each one, our panelists have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. Let's begin. This first one was sent in by Evelyn Basham. Clue 1. This character is well-traveled.
Zeth.
It is not Zeth.
He's well-traveled.
Stim.
It is not Vistum.
Kai'ine.
It is not Kai'ine. Clue 2. This character makes friends in both high and low places.
Risen.
It is not Risen.
Following the Thalen merchant theme.
Huh.
Lift.
It is Lift.
Hey.
Oh.
Nice.
Right.
The other 3 clues were this character will take from you that which is necessary for life.
It's true.
Clue 4. This character has crossed paths with the assassin in white and lived. Clue 5. This character, when pressed, calls herself a nose.
I don't recall that one.
I don't recall that.
Edge dancer.
Oh boy, it's been a while.
When she's talking to Arklo.
Oh right, what part of the body are you? Yes.
You know what I want to see in book 5? Axes.
Yes.
Axes has been.
What if Axes is like an important character in book?
What if Axes is on Odium's champion?
Odium's champion. Axes
Surprise! I have the curse of kind. You still don't know what it is. Whoa. That'll really mess them up good.
Yep.
This one was sent in by Matrim's Dice.
Nice.
Clue 1.
There.
Mm-hmm.
This character is male.
Moash.
It is not Moash.
Race.
Nail.
It is not Race, and it is not Nail.
What if it's Renarin? I'll guess that
Clue
next.
2.
Oh boy.
This character is a brawny man with a vest and a full beard.
Okay,
Definitely not
Renarin. Maybe in back half, Alyx.
Maybe a back.
That'd be awesome. He's just the brawny guy on the paper towels. It's just
I mean,
Renarin.
that's a very specific description all of a sudden.
Yes.
We went from like the most vague clue ever to like quality description.
Wait, so brawny man and what? I couldn't get Renarin out of my brain.
Wearing a vest with a full beard.
Huh. That's a beard.
So
in Cosmere.
definitely not Doxin, because Doxin has a half beard.
I was going to say, does Rock's facial hair count as a full beard? I guess the first time we meet Rock, he has a full beard because they haven't shaved. So I'm going to go with Rock.
It is not Rock.
Where's
Any
a
of the
vest?
Bridgemen would sort of work.
Is
They
it
start out
Cal-
wearing vests. All of the Bridgemen do.
What do
Is
you?
it Kaladin?
It is not Kaladin. I do wonder how many characters fit this description in Brandon's work.
Yeah, if we could just control F on everything, then this would be really easy. Like, not many characters are described as brawny, in the books. Maladroitly, I bet it comes up more often than brawny.
Does Ham have a beard?
I'm gonna guess Ham.
It is not Ham.
Okay.
Clue 3. This character has been a soldier in multiple armies.
Great.
This definitely sounds like Ham. Dang it.
Vatha.
It is not Vatha.
One of those, maybe. I'll just keep guessing people in Shallan's crew.
Boy. Yeah.
It's brawny.
Bluth?
It is not Bluff.
Nice. Great plan, Alyx.
He's not in her crew.
I
He's
mean,
in Tavalakov's crew. They just traveled together a little bit. Doesn't count.
sure.
It's my own guess. Shut up.
Tonk Fa?
It's not Tongfa.
Oh.
I don't think they were in multiple armies, though.
Clue 4. This character is dead.
I do not think I'm going to get this one.
Dead.
It is not Denth.
Yondel,
boy.
I don't know.
It is not Yondel.
Aiko?
It is not Aiko.
Does he have like bronzy facial hair? I don't know. Whatever.
Clue 5. This character has a negative experience with zinc.
Oh,
What?
it's like Brill or like it's the guy Demo fights
Oh,
in Cavern.
Bilg. His name's
Bilg.
not.
It is Bilg.
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
I think
mis-
it's changed at one
It
point.
did
I think
because it was
Yeah.
Bilg in book 1, and then I think it was miswritten as Brill in the original Hero of Ages, and it was changed back to Bilg.
okay.
So Ian's right.
Yes,
It is that.
it is Bilg.
Huh.
But then, like, branded in the annotations, like, yeah, it was supposed to be that same character, and I wrote the name wrong, so that reference did not work. So, oops.
Oof.
Oh, right, because Kelsey are using on him.
Yeah, I memorized the wrong name for that.
Pretty sure
character.
Bilg's his actual name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh boy.
yeah.
Ooh,
that's not
Era
true.
1. Yikes. I
Ooh.
totally remember all about it. Cool.
Yep.
Well,
Cool.
you can find us on 17shot.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud, YouTube. If you want to support us, you can support us on Patreon for as low as $1, as much as you want, though, for outtakes of some amount of quality, I guess. Also, you can vote in our art polls, and the art that has been very quality. That's for
Yes.
sure. So
The latest one's probably going to be out by the time this
Oh,
one is
100%.
released, but it's so cool. It's not
Mhm.
released at the time of recording, but it's
it's about
so
Moash,
cool.
so
It is.
it's
Yeah.
it is really good. Yeah, turned out great. Cool. Well, we'll see you all next time for something else. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna be next. But
figure it out.
something that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Caw.